This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome to another episode of Business by the Numbers. I'm your host, Hunt Emrys, CPA with Parmelis & Associates. So this week we have a special guest and recurring guest, Chris Cotton. Chris Cotton owns Autofix Auto Shop Coaching. He also is a podcaster on this network called Weekly Blitz, so check that out. And now a new shop owner. Well, not really a new shop owner. He's been coaching shops for decades, owned a shop when Chris and I first met, but had a chance to sit down with Chris and talk about has his philosophy for coaching changed, biggest revelations from opening the shop, and everything else in between, which I hope you enjoy. I know that I did. Before we get into that, I wanted to just stop and say thank you to you and the rest of the dedicated listeners. Remember, if you have a question, comment, want to be on a future episode, shoot me an email at podcast@parmelis.com. And lastly, we cannot forget our dedicated sponsors, NAPA TRACS and Promotive, for being such loyal supporters of the show. So thank you to you both. Hey, did you know NAPA TRACS is on-site training plus 6 days a week support? It all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that TRACS is the single best shop management system in the business. Visit them online at napatracs.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. It's time to hire a superstar for your business. What a grind you have in front of you. Great news, you don't have to go at it alone. Introducing Promotive, a full-service staffing solution for your shop. Let them do the heavy lifting and enlist your hiring partner online at gopromotive.com. Hey, did you know NAPA TRACS is on-site training plus 6 days a week support? It all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that TRACS is the single best shop management system in the business. Visit them online at napatracs.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. It's time to hire a superstar for your business. What a grind you have in front of you. Great news, you don't have to go at it alone. Introducing Promotive, a full-service staffing solution for your shop. Let them do the heavy lifting and enlist your hiring partner online at gopromotive.com. First and foremost, congratulations, Chris.
Thank you. I often think, if you're a fan of mafia movies and a fan of The Godfather, there's a scene in there where he goes, when I get out, they just bring me back in. And so that's kind of what I feel like sometimes with this now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something that you and I had talked about over years. I think you had a couple opportunities, and I've seen other people kind of get sucked back into the world. Obviously, it's something that you're passionate about, but what was your big push, right? Did you just think, hey, you know what, I have too much free time, or why'd you want to get back into a shop?
It wasn't that I had too much free time, right? It's just that the opportunity was too good to pass up. Like, honestly, when I looked at the numbers, the top side was just too great. And if you go and listen to the Weekly Blitz, or if you're a podcast listener of mine, go out and listen to Project Alpha. That's kind of me giving the outline in the very beginning, and I'll go into more details later. Since we moved to this town, what I've noticed is the retiree revolution. There's probably 10 to 15 shops in town, and probably 4 to 5 have been up for sale in the last couple of years. And I just learned of another one that's up for sale yesterday. So people are aging out. And also, though, people are not ready to retire, but like through health issues and things like that, it's time for them to do something else. This one came up for sale. I get alerts from all across the country. Like when new shops go up for sale, I kicks my inbox. And so I got this one and I was like, okay, I'll look at it. I'm interested. And so one of the things that I promised Kimberly is, this is not for me to be in, not for me to run. I'm an absentee owner. I'm in the shop today. I spend about 4 hours on a Thursday here and a couple hours on Monday. And that's it. The rest of the time, I'm still working in my office at home or on the road and just managing my people and managing the business. We bought it the end of August, took over the day after Labor Day. And then if anybody's been following me on social media, I left for a month-long road trip 10 days after we bought the shop. So I had my people in place and said, sorry, here's all this new stuff. Good luck. I'm out of here. And really what got just the upside was so big. Numbers wise, this is going to be something huge for us. I think we're doing great things for the employees. We kept most all of the old staff. I think it'll be great for the community too. Like, of course, that's if you take care of your employees and take care of the community, then they'll all take care of you.
You brought up a couple of good points there. So I guess the first thing I got to ask is you came on board, right? New boss is in town and new boss is going to go on a 1-month road trip. What was the ownership like of the previous owner? Were they an absentee owner or were they there every single day?
Just to give you the background, this shop has been under the same ownership for 39 years. So, and the same owner, same family and everything. We have this big culture shock with some of our customers on what we're trying to do versus what they were doing before. When I first saw the information, it was quote unquote sold to me as there was the owner owned the business, but they were not actively working in the business.
I like how you phrase that. It was sold to me as, which means that you're about to say what was really going on.
And so this is one of the things when you do due diligence and some of the other stuff, I found out that after making that statement, they then fired the manager and then the owner was right back into it, working in the business like every day. So those are some of the things when you're looking at a shop to buy. Is the owner truly an absentee owner? Are they not an absentee owner? And then you can give greater detail on how do you figure that in or take it out for what the asking price is. Because I know they try to hide it here, try to hide it there. Here's the other thing. Like I walked away from this 4 times and told them, screw you guys, I don't want it. Between the first time I told them no and the second time when they re-engaged me, they're like, I looked at some numbers again and I'm like, oh, well, I noticed this person's missing now. What's going on?
Oh, so they even bring it to your attention. If you would not have mentioned it, I'm guessing that they wouldn't.
If I would not have mentioned it, yeah, I'm guessing they wouldn't have.
Well, and also the thing about it that's, you could be really misled on this because imagine what that looks like on the numbers, especially if you don't look at these hard enough. It's like, wow, sales are pretty level, but you're making even more money this year. It's like, well, yeah, you're going to make a lot more money through 6 months if you don't have a big manager salary. But, like you said, that kind of completely changes the landscape. But I'm going to have to just reiterate what you said there, because for people looking at a business, I don't think that you need to go overboard with some people on this due diligence, but there is a very, very key point that Chris brought up there. Someone is going to tell you that they work in a business, don't work in a business, work in a business to this level. And from a financial aspect, right, that has an effect on the value of the business, from an attractiveness, ease of operations, so many things about having that person really be absentee or really be an advisor. Some people, the big thing that always gets pushed back, because I have people that, I can already see where this is going. They don't like to know that this business is getting sold. So like if you went back in hindsight or if you weren't as close to this deal, what would you recommend people to do? Like stop by the shop as a secret shopper, send some spies in? Like how would you kind of recommend people trying to uncover that?
I would either come in as a secret shopper or send somebody in or whatever, or, walk through the parking lot and done some of that. The other thing, I don't want to bash this guy and the family, but he was 71 years old. He's been doing this for a long time.
They're probably not listeners, so
probably not. He was ready to leave. Like his attitude had gone south like 2 years ago. As such, he was treating the employees really badly. And so when the employees found out there was going to be a new owner, and then I came in and introduced myself to them probably a month before we closed. So they knew it was coming. It wasn't like one of those, like one day you go in and on Monday you come in and like, oh, we have all new people in there. But I also gave them, here's my coaching website. And I know a lot of listeners aren't going to have that to fall back on. Here's my coaching website. Here's my podcast. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. I would love to have you stay. But if for some reason you don't think I'm the real deal, then you can walk away. I'm fine.
But we see that a lot, right? Of people that are like on their way out, right? People at some point that, like, obviously that guy had been doing it almost 40 years. Probably still had a good name around town. Obviously still had a good enough name because the team was sticking with them. But wasn't the one where they were super sad to see boss leave. It's probably like, yeah, boss left 2 years ago. So someone coming in here with a renewed sense of energy, we've all seen those shops. They're not the best run, right? The equipment is not the most up to date. They're probably not using the most current technology systems and stuff like that.
Right. I haven't sent you pictures, but I can send you the pictures. It had 40 years of accumulated stuff here. And so the weird thing about us is we're able to use the Firestone name in our name, but we're not a company-owned store. So we get a lot of people that come through thinking we're a company-owned Firestone store. Yeah, we're a Bridgestone affiliated dealer, so we're affiliated that way. But yeah, there was just like years of accumulated junk and everything. So the first thing that we did, Kimberly and I, and again, I'm going to give, Kimberly may never listen to this, but I'm going to give her a big thank you. We came in on Monday and spent 12 hours at the shop throwing stuff in the trash and threw dumpster after dumpster after dumpster of stuff in the trash.
What kind of stuff was this? Just literally garbage?
Just like garbage, posters. Like, I'm not big on having all these posters and stuff in there, displays, just stuff.
Well, posters look cool. Posters after 20 years look pretty dusty and dirty and nasty.
There's like a glass door between the two, between where you go into the shop, and somebody put all of their crazy stickers and everything on there. It was just cluttered. And then
just kind of an old school shop where you see that stuff, it's like, no.
It was just an old school shop.
2024, let's clean this up. Let's get this stuff out of here.
And then, like, the guest Wi-Fi was just a piece of paper taped to the wall.
They had guest Wi-Fi. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good, but it's just a paper flapping on the wall. They were doing handwritten paper scheduling.
What do you think that the biggest technological change that you made? We won't say that's made you the most money, but the one where you're saying of like, hey, of the changes, this is probably the biggest thing that this guy should have done long ago.
There's so many that should have been done. Probably a good shop management system. I realized the way the system that he was on is more tire friendly.
What was he on?
Repair Writer 4.5.
I feel like you just made that up.
I did not make it up. Like, I've heard of the other 100 shop management systems, but that was one that was new on me.
That's kind of funny. I'm the same way. Someone will say it and I'll be like, man, I know some of the obscure ones. And this is like obscure of obscure. But there's a bunch of these, especially if you got these legacy softwares. It's like he probably bought Repair Writer 4.5 and some random guy out in Ohio made it. Hey, maybe the listener of Repair Writer 4.5 is on you.
It actually comes out of Arizona.
But like you said, the tire guys sometimes have a little bit different stuff, especially if, they're wholesalers or whatever on something else. But
when I look at it, it looks exactly like Mitchell. I walked in the first day and I was like, oh, here's where we go to get this report and that report and this report. And he was looking at me and I'm like, do you not know where to get these reports? And he's like, no, my sister has to get them for me. And so I knew more about his system than he did as far as the reporting did. And it never worked with it before.
So that's probably was more important there is like, hey, he probably would even have benefited from a nicer shop management system because he was even maximizing what he had there.
So I think that was huge. One of the other things I noticed is he wasn't doing any advertising at all. And so I think he cut his advertising budget to zero to not have the expense in there. And so the first thing we've done is like, we started with Google AdWords. We're going to start with Facebook ads. And man, we are slammed. So technology-wise, I think if he would have advertised at all, he would have been able to fluff up the numbers through sales. Now, his margins weren't good. His parts margin was low. And this is one of the things we can go more in depth in. We can do a whole nother different podcast on this probably. When I looked at it, his parts margin was about 32% because I'm pretty sure he was just using like Parts House List or whatever for anything. I put in our Autofix Auto Shop coaching. I say ours, but it's really ours by yours and mine, mainly yours. And then I took your idea and went with it. But it basically came from your inflation adjusted parts matrix. I took the one that you had, I tweaked it a little bit. I put it in there and I said, don't touch it. Through 45 days, we're running a 55% parts margin just on the parts side of it. Has
the counter reported any feedback on that?
None. Nobody said a word.
What do you think if you were to guess of saying like, hey, I came to, Firestone of Durango in February, right? And I got my brakes done and I'm the world's most aggressive driver and I'm here 6 months later and I need the same job done. How much do you think that your prices have increased from then to now?
Because we also changed the labor rate too, because it needed to be bumped up a little bit. So you've got...
Probably sell this stuff differently too, right? It's like, hey...
Yeah, like the whole thing's different. Plus they had a 1-year, 12,000 mile warranty. We have a 4-year, 48,000 mile warranty, whichever benefits the customer most. I'm going to say our pricing, if you take the labor side of it and the parts side of it and squished it together, there might be a 25% difference or 30% difference, maybe. I don't know.
You guys seeing higher or lower close rates or higher or lower sales?
Well, so here's the thing. Like they never did vehicle inspections before, like none. Like it was McDonald's.
Oh, so they were closing 100%.
Yeah, they were closing 100% of what the customer asked for. Like they might sell an odd air filter or cabin air filter. And one of the things that I noticed when I looked at the upside for the business, their average repair order was like $250.
Whoa. What was their labor rate?
It had not changed in 3 years. Their labor rate was in the mid 130s.
Wow, so they had a pretty solid labor rate to be at that low of an ARO. That is We don't see that much anymore.
But their effective labor rate was low. Everything was low. And so I'm like, based on what I know I can do and what we can do if we put all this in place, we have huge upside. So here we are 45 days later, and our average repair order is almost doubled. Like we're almost to, like for this month, I think we're averaging like 485.
And that's a solid number.
We still have a long way to go because our average estimate is still too low, lower than what I want it. So our closing rate's high, but it's just because our closing rate's about 75%, but it's because we have, like low end tickets. I knew if I just kept the car count the way it was and was able to double the average repair order. The other weird thing about this shop was for the last 3 years, it did $1,060,000, $1,070,000, and then $1,065,000. Like it was within $10,000 in sales for 3 years. No growth.
Super, super consistent.
Super consistent. But again, going back to the technology, everything else, if they would have just had a DVI, even if they would have just had a paper inspection and try to write some stuff up, that would have been great. And somewhere in the process, I think between number 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, I told the guy, I said, look, I understand this is difficult for you. I understand that I'm not offering what you want for this, but I'm not going to reward you for having a half-assed business. And this is what I think the business is worth. So that's it. That's my number. Take it or leave it. I'm done. I told him, I said, the best thing you can do is you can hire my company. I'll put you with a coach for 18 months and we can get you $500,000 for this business in 18 months to 2 years from now, if you're willing to wait. And he just couldn't see it. Like that just boggled his mind so much that he's like, no, I'm fine taking the haircut. I don't want to be here any longer. I just want out.
So you got it for $498, right?
Not even close. Like it's not even a 6-digit number, right? Like I paid a 5-digit number for this place.
But you didn't get emotionally attached to it. And like you said, you walked away from this deal, came back on it and said, hey, I get it. And the one big piece, because when I asked like, hey, what was the biggest change? What I heard was combined all together, you made a very big changes here. But the frustrating part, I think, of where you made that kind offer to him is you're close, right? Like you have the core, you have enough cars here to make this work. You have enough sales to make this work. You're a little bit low on your parts. You're not selling properly. It's not like you have changed a massive amount of things. Now, yeah, a lot of this has turned out to be pricing, but really it's a lot of this is just kind of sales auto shop 101. I was going to laugh and say, this is what it would look like when people are like, well, hey, just come and run my shop. You can't fix it. It's like, well, yeah, I did. But the good part about this one is you get the value on the back end and not someone else, right?
Exactly. And so the other thing that I wanted to do with this is I wanted to use it as podcast material to be like, hey, I'm just not blowing smoke. This is not, people have been watching us do these things for years, but now I'm like, hey, if you didn't believe me before, watch me now. And honestly, if somebody came in and tried to buy this shop from me, I might take less than $500,000. But with all the updating we've done all the hard work and the heavy lifting. Like we have a staff in place. We've updated the technology. We've updated the shop.
You made it too nice to sell now. I got more in it.
Everything's for sale, right? Like you're
like, hey, don't scare them off, Hunt. Hey, if you're interested in Firestone of Durango, shoot Chris at autofixsos.com a message. Let
me know. I've got an absentee owner staff. We can put it together for you. But yeah, I'm not taking a haircut on this one because I know what it's worth and what the value is.
NAPA TRACS was built from the ground up to make your business more profitable and efficient. They provide an extensive set of tools to increase and track profitability in real time. NAPA TRACS offers the industry's best wholesale support hands down. They train your people on site. Yes, on site. They also offer remote refresher training 10 times a week and customer support is open 6 days a week. Give them a call, visit them, or join our Facebook community today to learn more. They'll prove to you that TRACS is the single best shop management system in the business. NAPA TRACS is always customized and tailored for your business, whether you're a one-man shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Visit us on the web at napatracs.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. Is your recruitment process draining your valuable time and resources? What if there was a partner who could take your recruitment efforts off your plate? Look no further. Promotive is your ultimate solution for hassle-free staffing focused solely on the automotive industry. On the web at gopromotive.com. Promotive understands the challenges you face when searching for the perfect technician or service advisor for your shop. That's why we've developed a platform that takes the hassle out of recruiting. Michelle Tanzi from Euroclinic said, "I am a shop owner and recruiting new talent is so time-consuming. Promotive does the majority of the seeking and recruiting. They reach out to the candidates for you, and when they feel they are a good match for you and culture, they make the connection. They follow up throughout the interview process, and we make sure that the candidates are a good fit and the shop is a good fit for the candidates. I admire that they genuinely want both parties to win. They recruited and paired us with a solid B-Tech and Master Tech. Both left a dealership position and are still part of our team. We are very happy with the character and culture match, and both technicians have become valuable team members." Visit our website at gopromotive.com today and join the growing community of shop owners who have found their ideal team members with Promotive. People always come to me with these deals. Well, Hunt, it's making this now, but if I do that, I'm going to fix that. It's going to make me this. You don't pay someone for what you're going to do to the business, right? That's the upside. Like that's the risk, because especially I see this for people that have not analyzed these deals enough. And it's like, if it's that easy to do and it's that commonly known of a practice, they probably would have done it. Like when people look at this and say, they're just too low on their prices, I'm going to go and raise it. It's like, maybe the market won't hold that there. You don't know. But yeah, you have an inclination, but you might or might not be wrong. So I love the fact that you're like, I see where even if this stays what it is, this is going to be an okay deal. But I know that hopefully a couple of things, go my way. This is going to have a much larger upside for you.
We'll see how it turns out. We have a small shop. So we have 4 bays, 4 techs, 2 service advisors.
Oh, there's going to be people that yell at you if you call that a small shop.
Compared to some of the other stuff. And that's true. Like this shop, it wouldn't shock me if we didn't double the sales from 1 million to 2 million next year. Like it wouldn't shock me at all.
You think that's about the most that you can do out of that?
I think I could do more.
Oh, you guys are doing tires, could bit tires too. So
we do tires, but I can talk about that in a minute too. We will max this out. Staying at the same car count and doubling your sales, there's only so much you can do in a shop like this. But, for them to have only had like $10,000 up or down year to year, I don't think we'll have any problem doing another $500,000. It wouldn't shock me. Like if at the end of next year we were doing podcasts again and I was like, we only did like 1.3 million, I would be disappointed. I think we get to 1.5 pretty easily, and it wouldn't shock me if we got over that number.
What were we going to say about tires?
So when I was evaluating the business and looking at the tires and the tire breakdown, it was like 1/3 labor, parts, and tires, like almost 33% each labor, parts, and tires. Right now, we're running about 40% labor, a little bit more on the parts, 40% labor, 35% parts, and then the rest in tires. So, but I don't know that our tire sales have gone down. I think it's been because we've increased our parts and labor sales so much. Does that make sense?
Or also probably like when someone came in for tires, it's like, well, hey, do they need an alignment? Do they need brakes? Do they need shocks? Where, in the past, it's like, hey, Chris needs tires, put tires on it, and that's out the door.
And that's another thing, we present a package. It has tires, alignment, mountain balance, and the road hazard. All that's in there when we first present it. But so our tire sales have actually increased, but as a percentage of total sales, it's gone down. That should be the way I should say that.
Do you guys run the same promotions as Firestone or no?
They're similar, but they're a little bit different. Like we don't have any of the coupons. We don't do any of that.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. Do you have people that come in with those coupons?
We do. And unfortunately, they don't ask us before they do anything. They do the work. And then, how people are, they fling the coupons at you after the fact. And you're like, sorry, we're not a company-owned store.
Or they try to stack them all on top of each other. It's like, that's not even how that works if you were to do this correctly.
I'll also tell you that our effective labor rate is within 2% of our door rate. And even
just not discounting stuff.
We're just not discounting stuff. And the other thing is I'm a big believer in if you want a good oil change, you have to pay for it. So we only use full synthetic oils, and a 5-quart oil change with the DVI and everything for us is $120. And we have people in here.
What was it before?
I want to say it was like in the 80s.
He was still getting okay money for it.
Yeah, he was getting okay money for it. He was making money on the parts, but he wasn't making any money on the labor. That's the other thing. Like there were so many inefficiencies. They were using box oil from AutoZone, and their cost per quart was almost double what I'm paying buying in bulk.
What, they were using quarts or jugs of it?
Not jugs. They were using boxes. So I guess AutoZone has like a 5-gallon box of oil, or maybe it's 4 gallons.
Wait, so like a box of wine, but it has oil in it?
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Sounds quality, Chris. You're telling me that is not what we want to be putting in our vehicles?
Well, it might be fine. It's just from a standpoint of how do I maximize my buying power and everything like that? It's just not a good way to be.
Especially if you're not working on, ones that are very picky about the kind of oil. I thought that everyone at this point was pretty much using bulk oil to a certain extent.
Yeah, no. Our shop's not big enough to have like a 150-gallon tank. We only went from boxed oil to 55-gallon drums and was able to cut that price in half.
When you were talking about, you're like, well, hey, if he's selling, regular oil for 80 and you go to full synthetic at 120, unless you're kind of, like you said, cutting your costs in a different way, a lot of that is really, hey, the customer is getting a better product and you're kind of paying more, but that's kind of a win-win for both parties there.
Right. I think so. It's just been interesting. So there's been a lot of those types of things that we've been able to do. And so our margins are really good. That 55% parts margin, that includes oil changes, it doesn't include tires. But on tire margin right now, just the tires by themselves in the shop management system, we're holding about a 23% margin, but that doesn't include about the 8% that I get on the backside. So we're actually close to 30.
What are you doing, road service?
No, just the backside money from Bridgestone. Yeah.
Back end from the Bridgestone. The old quarter end, year end discount games that everyone loves, right?
Well, it's not even that much. Like it's on every invoice. Like I pay, obviously I use my Auto Shop Profits and Cash Flow system in the shop, which is a whole nother podcast episode. Like I've got enough podcast material for you and me for probably several months at this point. So I get an early pay discount. It's weird. In the olden days, we used to get like 30, 60, 90-day terms on our tires. Now we don't get those terms, but it's like the second net 15. So if I order a tire now in October, I don't have to pay for it until like December 15th or January 15th, depending on what their cutoff date is. But if I pay early, then I get a discount on the invoice. So at the end of every week, I have my tire money in my Auto Shop Profits account, and I go online and pay my invoices and get to deduct a certain amount off of there.
Guys that don't sell tires are so confused. And it's like, the tire world with these kind of things. You used to see this for like parts houses would do this stuff now, but they've gotten so strict. They're like, pay us. But the tire stuff is like, it's more like my wholesale clients that'll get the quarter end, year end rebates where it's big money. But I mean, I think the biggest thing that I took out of this, of when you were talking about these changes and specifically on the parts, is I think a lot of people are kind of stumped on like, well, hey, I'm at 48, I'm at 50%. Like, how do I get that last percentage on here? And really a lot of what you've been talking about is, you get the matrix set up, but also don't forget the backside of this. If you can, get some discounts, if you can pay this, if you can kind of negotiate with your vendors, you can bring your costs down from the vendors, which is going to raise that margin. You can sell it to your customers at the same price and you keep more of it. So it's definitely a give and a take on both sides.
Right. And so I can't say their name probably because everybody would call them and be like, I want what Chris has. But our parts bill has probably doubled from the previous owner to what we do on hard parts. The people that we're buying parts from is just like amazed. And when I negotiated with them in the beginning, I was like, hey, let's don't do any labor claims. But instead of the 2% cash discount, why don't you give me a 5% cash discount if I pay at the end of every month? They had to jump through some hoops on their end, but they got it approved. The downside is if we had a lot of labor claims, it'd be an issue, but I get 5% off. I get an extra 3% off on my parts bill every month now.
But you're kind of getting prepaid for your labor claims in a certain way.
Exactly.
And we know how the labor claims can be in practice versus in reality as well, too. Right?
They only pay you for half your labor rate for half the time, and it might take you 6 months to get it. So I would rather negotiate that and have it out on the front end.
It's like those mail-in rebates. I just bought some oil and like something happened. I saw my receipt. It was like, oh, wait. I can save $5, but I have to physically, I'm like, we're not doing this. Now, I have to mention, you were talking tires. Well, let's talk about what you said on the parts there, because I don't want to skim that over. I'm not going to make you say the parts house on there. I will tell you that what you're talking about, it does happen. I don't know why more shops don't do this, and I don't think it probably works in all markets. You got to have these guys competing for each other. But, people always say, I've heard people shoot for a 60% or better parts matrix. I don't see very many people that do. The dozen or so of my clients that are above 60%, when you talk to them, this is how they got there. They don't have higher matrix than you guys. They have much better buying power. Chris is getting 5% back. I've heard even bigger cuts on this. If you're in the right market and they're really trying to get market share, whether it's the one trying to get another guy out, ask, right? The worst they can say is, no, we're not going to give you, but we're not going to use these people's names. But let's say if you go to O'Reilly's, you do all your business at O'Reilly's, and you're a big enough shop, if you set a meeting up with CarQuest, one of these other ones, they will give you the time of day and they do want the business. They have salespeople that are going to look for this stuff. And just like Chris talked about there, their labor claims, the cash back, they have guides. They have limitations. Don't try to ask them for 40%. But that's the first I've ever heard of the wheeling and dealing of like, you got to have some give and to take here. If you're a shop that doesn't have any comebacks, Chris and I both have clients like this. Like, they don't have comebacks. It's fixed right. It's good. And for them, they might say, man, we are going to take this 5% because we never use these labor claims. Now, if you're that guy that really loves the labor claims on this, it might not work well for you, but such a cool idea for people to be able to go and, try and beat up their vendors a little bit more, I guess.
I didn't beat them up on it. I was just like, so first of all, if you go back to that other number, so I'm getting 55% parts margin at the shop level, and then I get another 5% on the back end. So that's 60% parts margin. I told them, I'm like, I don't want to fill out all this stupid ass paperwork for labor claims. I know you don't. So it saves my people time. It saves your people time. And then we don't have to even worry about it. Like, let's just come up with a system or a program that we come up with. I asked for more, but this is where we landed, but it's still 3% more than I was getting before. So why the heck not?
And worst case scenario, they come back and they say no, right? Like, these people are making money on it, right? Just think about a fleet customer coming into your business. Are you going to take him for 95% of your labor if he's going to give you the volume? You guys are customers to other people too, like NAPA, CarQuest. We've mentioned one of them that Chris was able to negotiate with, but I like that. I mean, and I love that idea, Chris. I'm not sure. Did you come up with that idea yourself? Have you used that in the past, or where did you?
I've used it in the past with other shops that we coach. There have been a couple of instances where people have said flat out no, like we won't even entertain that. But we've talked to other part suppliers in the area and they'll do it.
When you've had your coaching clients do this, do you mean that there's none of them have ever struck out on all the vendors in town? Like, there's always going to be one to do it. And then I guess, but then you're like, all right, well, hey, am I going to get, Steve's Auto Parts, which will give me really discounted prices, but they deliver slow as crap, or yeah.
Right. You have to figure that out on your own. Like, what you want to do with that.
Just like our business, right? Price is not everything, but if you can get the same exact product, same exact service, and they're going to give you more of a cash back, and you don't, let me talk about that, because I guess I see how you're doing this. The thing that people have to be careful of is I've seen people do this. So let's say it's like oil. They go out and they used to be paying $40 for it. They're going to, let's just assume it's 50%. They pay $40 for it. They mark it up and they sell it for $80. They go back and they beat up their vendors and they get it for $20. So then they're going to mark it up and sell it for $40. And so this is one of the things is it's not going to happen in your case because you're getting the kickback on the back end, not on the front end. But you got to be careful. If you go and you negotiate this pricing, especially for like bulk fluids, I see this a lot. You got to tweak it so that the savings is going in your pocket and it's not just reducing the sale. Because like in that example, you're paying half as much and you're making half as much because of that. So
we have several different vendors that we use. We don't go back to them. I know a lot of other coaching companies like teach that, and I'm all for sourcing it, where you can. But for us, we don't beat up on our vendors. Like we have, these things pre-negotiated. I want everybody to make money.
Well, and I think that they see that too, right? If you come in and you have a conversation, hey, Mr. Auto Parts Store, I like using you guys. You guys have always been reliable. Here's what I think is reasonable, and this would get you my business, in perpetuity on it. I think, like you said, you got to stick to that. You come back 6 months later and say, here I am for another deal. Hey, if you want to run your business like that, then fine. But these guys will also say, well, hey, if you're going to come back, you're always going to be at a race to the bottom. And you'll see a lot of these parts guys just back out and say, I gave Chris a deal once, maybe twice on this, but I know he's going to go whoever's going to throw him the biggest back end. And really, like you said, it's, trying to get some money. This is where you're going to get the extra points, but then also being mindful of like, hey, this is one of your biggest business partners in a certain way. You want them to be on your side and not completely hate your guts because you've taken every bit of margin out of their job.
Well, it's to equate it to something for shop owners, it's like somebody calling up and being like, hey, I need the cheapest brake job you can get me. I'm going to keep calling everybody else in town. Like, what do we do as the top, as the cream of the industry? What do we tell those people? We're like, yeah, no, I won't give you that quote over the phone. Like, I'm just not going to do it. So it's the same thing, right? I wanted to back up real quick because I wrote down a note. The owner was paying himself about $100,000 a year in salary out of the business. And so whenever I was doing the evaluation and everything, because it wasn't absentee owned, I basically gave him no credit for that because I've got to plug somebody into that position to run it for me. And I was also trying to figure out, where do I get the budgeting wise? How do I make this work out so that I take out the $100,000 and I replace it with $100,000 of like equal value stuff? So the store manager has a base salary of $80,000 a year plus bonuses. And then the other $20,000 a month, I divvied that up between new technology, advertising, and everything else, and gave myself a budget of $100,000 to make that work out. So that's what I did with his money. I've not taken a penny out of this business yet. But side note, through all of this process, I was able to get the owner to finance it for me.
Chris doesn't beat up his vendors, but he will beat up his owners, or former owners. You're going to take half price and you're going to hold the note here, boss.
Well, if I wouldn't have asked and he just said no, then I could have done something else. But he was like, I want out of this business so bad that I'm okay with it.
He was ready to get the heck out. He was not going to screw up this deal the fourth time.
What has happened is we set it up on a 3-year note. And I want everybody to listen to this. I've been making a monthly payment every week out of this business. I've ran this business for 45 days and I've made 10 months worth of payments. So I'll have a 3-year note paid off by the end of May, if not sooner.
Before I get into my real question, is the ex-owner happy, sad, confused? What is his thoughts on getting 10 months of payment in 10 weeks?
He's happy as a clam. He keeps his mouth shut and just keeps watching the checks roll in.
Not bitter about it?
No. I mean, he was actually in here 2 days ago wanting to know if we could work on his car. I'm like, oh, now I get it all back in one invoice, but no, can't quite do that. And so here's the other thing. Like, I gave him like half of what he was asking, but he is going to make a little bit of money on the financing of it, like another $10,000, $11,000. And he's going to get all that back in, what I say, probably 6 months versus 3 years.
Yeah, you want your money. Now you want it in 3 years, right? Time value of money on that. But you made up a really good point. I'll kind of elaborate on what you said there. So if someone wants $500,000 for their business and you go and get a loan, they're going to get $500,000. So a lot of times, if you're bridging the gap of I'm at 150, you're at 500,000, holding the note for the person selling the business is pretty common for 2 reasons. One of the biggest reasons is if someone's asking a bunch of money, a bank's not going to touch it. So you're going to say, hey, this is the most the bank will lend me. If you want more than that, you're going to have to hold the note because no bank's going to agree to this. But then like Chris said, if they're stretching this out over a couple of years, they're saving some money on taxes and collecting money on interest. So for this guy, if Chris bought it for $100,000, if he paid out over the life of it, he's going to save a couple bucks on interest here. But hey, it's like, hey, you didn't sell it for 100. You're really going to probably get 130, 140, if this thing goes to term. So pretty cool. So that could go either way of like, bitter, confused, or I think a lot of times also people are like, well, beginner's luck. Let's see if you can do it in the long run. That's awesome. All right. So you've obviously been in this industry for a long time, coaching a lot of people. What do you think the biggest, mindset shift or biggest kind of revelation you've had from getting back into a shop? Is there anything that you've completely changed of like what you coach clients or what you thought, or is it more subtle than that or anything in between?
The coaching part is the same. Like, all of my coaches still own shops. I still go and do shop visits and work in people's shops. From that aspect, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is like completely different. But having a shop, and you have to remember, so we had our shop from the early 2000s to 2012. And so we struggled through 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the big difference is like the things that I already know. One, it's never been easier to get customers into your shop. Number 2, the weird thing about tires is used to, we would roll out tires, have a lot of tires in our showroom, and actually talk about tread designs, tread patterns. And now people come in and tell you what they want. Like, you're basically taking an order. You might make a recommendation, but there's no really selling to tires anymore. I think but you also look at 2008, 9, 10, like, We were barely past dial-up internet then. So there's been a lot of advancements in that. The weirdest thing that I didn't think would be as big that I've noticed is, as a shop owner, using credit cards and trying to reconcile credit card statements to the business. Because back in the old days, we got paper copies of all the invoices, we filed it, and then at the end of the month, we wrote checks for everything. And it was really, really easy to reconcile. And so I see a lot of people that use credit cards in their business that never maybe learned how to reconcile. And you could probably speak to this more. They never really learned how to properly reconcile any of their bills. And it's just a hot mess. Like, this is on this credit card, this is on this credit card, this is on this credit card. And so the biggest thing I've noticed is just like the reconciling of all the bills and everything if you're using the credit cards in the business. I'm not saying don't use the credit cards in the business, but it's a hot mess. Like, it is crazy.
I make an example a lot. Like, I was just filming a class that I was doing on like a balance sheet, right? And I always talk about of like, everyone kind of understands a balance sheet, from a very basic level. All right. If you have a bank account, you have no debt, like that's your balance sheet. It's very simple. But then most businesses have, multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, receivables. So the more accounts you have, the more confusing it gets. And absolutely, right? I got guys, whether you're, strung up on credit card debt, so you're having to play the old, Russian roulette of which one's going to go through. That makes it extremely hard to look at cash flow because, like, you have a bunch of money in your account. Oh, that's already spoken for on the credit cards, or some of it's coming out of your Chase card, some of it's coming out of your American Express. Absolutely. If you are having trouble, keeping a handle on your finances, then the way you're actually spending that money might be extremely confusing as well. You made a mention there of, cutting the checks at the end of every month. Like, that was how everyone ran business. And some people, I'm old enough to remember that because I still have some clients that do it this way, where it's like, hey, that'll be in a check run. Checks went out once a month, once a week, but it was very, very regimented. And if you are struggling with cash flow, or if you're having a hard time grasping that, I really recommend doing that, right? Like, hey, don't send out checks on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday night, right? Get them all together, send them out on one day of the week, right? Or 2 days of the week. And what you'll see is it's a lot easier to forecast that stuff because you can look and see what you have. You can look and see what you're sending out and making sure that you're not, overextending yourself or double paying and stuff like that.
That's the other thing. Like, when we talk about the auto shop profits and cash flow, we talk about only paying on the 10th and the 25th outside of your payroll or whatever, and having a better process for how you pay your bills. And I'm not telling anybody not to use credit cards. You just have to know how all this works, because it's really easy like now. But for me, I have a credit card for my operating expenses. I have a credit card for my parts. And then the tire bills I pay online. So don't send a check. As soon as the bill comes in, I pay it, and then it goes in, and then I pay the credit card bill weekly based on what I have in that account with my different buckets. The other thing, and I didn't do a good job of this saying it a minute ago, was communication. The way people want to be communicated with now and the way things work in the shop is a million times different, a million times better than the way it was 10, 12 years ago. Just from like online scheduling, DVIs, texting, emails. Some people want the old school feel, but about 80% of the people would rather save time and not call the shop. One of the big things that we did is, if you call our shop, we don't get an inbound phone call at all now. What happens is you go in, the first option is if you want to schedule, click the button and we'll text you the link to schedule. And then the second option is, if this is after hours or you need to be towed in, click number 2, and then it automatically sends your phone to the towing company to be towed in. Number 3 is, do you need directions to the store? And number 4 is, would you like to leave a voice message? And then the minute that voice message gets left, it pops up on our screen in the shop. And then when we get a chance, we can call them back. Now, usually we're really, really good about that. But what I've noticed is, especially in a tire shop, you're answering like 200 phone calls a day, and you can't get an estimate done. You can't get this done, or you take your focus off of the customer that's in front of you to focus on the phone. And so we've pulled all of that out of it. So we're focusing on the people that are in the shop first, and then we're answering the phone. So far, we have about 25 to 30% new customers coming into the business that have never been in before. The next big advancement, or all the advancements in the repair shop, I think, are going to be on productivity for service advisors. Not having to answer the phone, how we handle this, how we handle appointments and everything else like that.
No, I think you make a really good point of like, having an advisor that's juggling 15 different things, and you leave a bad experience for everyone, right? The person on the counter is annoyed because it took too long. They were half paying attention. Maybe stuff got missed. The person that they've been asked to, please hang on hold for the fourth time is annoyed there too. Because I can see people being like, man, leaving a voicemail, I assure you, leaving a quick voicemail, hey, looking to get some tires done, give me a call when you get a chance, is a lot more effective use of your customer's time than sitting on hold for 4 minutes. So, and you say you don't do that? Come on now. Some of you guys leave your accountant on hold for 4 minutes while they try and find you guys out of the quote unquote business meeting that I know you're not in. But
right. Who wants to be that? And then two, we're getting 100 plus phone calls a day. 25 to 30% of those are robocalls or whatever. And all of that gets filtered out. It allows us to be better, build a better relationship. I know some people are like, oh, what we found is like people are throwing a fit. They're like, well, I can't get a hold of anybody. And I'm like, okay, do you just need to schedule? Do you need to tell somebody how your cat's doing today? What's the purpose of the phone call? Like right before I got on here to record this with you, there's a lady throwing a fit at the front counter. And I was like, if you leave us a voice message, we will get right back to you on our timeline. She was like, well, it never let me leave a voice message. And I'm like, did you get to option 4? And she's like, well, no, I hung up before that. I'm like, so you were impatient and everything else. Like, I get that. I don't want to lose that customer. But at the same time, these are the things that we're going through. Like if you stop to answer a phone call when you're working on a $2,000 estimate to listen to a lady talk about her cat for 10 minutes and try to schedule something that she could have done in 30 seconds online. I mean, come on, man.
Did she end up buying anything?
Yeah, we're going to do like $1,800 worth of work on her car. Like she came in, complained. We wrote her up for a tune-up. Her AC's not working and a bunch of other stuff. But she could have done that whole transaction, either scheduled it online, or if she would have just listened. Like this is the thing with our society right now is like we're impatient. We don't listen. We don't ever complete anything. If she'd have listened to the end of the message, we say, click 4, leave us a voice message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If she would have just done that, then maybe it would have stopped. I don't know. Some people just like to complain, right? So it is what it is.
Well, and then she must have not been that upset. It's like, yet here you are, and here you are spending money with me. So I think also a lot of people, especially if you get technology on it, a lot of people's, if you're not comfortable with technology, people are embarrassed that it comes off as, embarrassment, anger, where it's like, no, they just don't really know how to use technology, or we're just confused and now feel like an idiot for being confused on a fairly simple phone prompt.
Anyway, and then, so the other thing is the lady walks in, it's actually lunchtime. So all the technicians are eating lunch, and then the service advisors were deciding on where to go to lunch. And then she starts yelling about, oh, you're just standing here doing nothing. We're like, if you'd have left a voice message, we could have gotten right back to you. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah, you're like, we shouldn't be able to eat either, right? God forbid we go take a break. So we're coming up on our time here. So I'll give you a couple choices on this. I want you to either give a piece of advice of someone that's looking to buy a shop, give yourself a piece of advice when you're looking to buy this one. But I'll even open it up to your, 45 days in, right?
Yeah.
If you could go back and, make a change 45 days in, whether not making a change or making it a different way. So if you could go back and tell previous Chris, what would you tell him?
I'm going to start with number 3. I think, and I mentioned this in my podcast that I did, when I was doing the evaluation, I gave no thought to the value that the employees had in the business. I got some really, really great employees. I was here 10 days and left for a month, and the shop ran fine without me. I don't know how it could have gotten much better than that. Sure, we had our struggles. I also came in the very first day and was like, hey guys, I know this is going to be a shit show. We're changing shop management systems, and you're not getting paper copies of anything anymore. Go to your tablet and look it up. And everybody struggled through that with me, and they were great. So I think number 1, now here's the thing is I'm taking great care of the employees. I'm not necessarily saying that you should reward an owner that we had and pay him extra because he has great employees. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But looking back, one of the things I would have done was maybe given a little bit more value for the employees.
Because it kind of goes like with what you've been saying a lot on this deal. Like it's the opposite of the title of my podcast, but it seems like a lot of what you would have went back and looked at differently and done differently is all non-financial stuff. What is actually the owner's day-to-day involvement in here? What are the employees actually doing? Are the employees going to be here when I come here? And then, the most important thing, and what a lot of people are truly buying, is this business is only as good or only as bad as the team it has. You could be the best business owner in the entire world. If you have dog shit employees, it's going to be a bad business. Like, you cannot overcome that. Same flip side. We know some very bad business owners that have a very good team, and they probably have a very good business on there. But no, when it comes down to this, like what everyone always says, why do you mark up parts? We're not marking up parts. It's all labor. My team's time, the team at the parts house, my time. This is all labor. And yeah, anyone that misses the point of this industry is, hey, you are only as good as the team that you have. And it's getting harder and harder to find good help. And a lot of people, this is why they're acquiring shops is, hey, the good people have a job somewhere and probably have had a job somewhere for a long time, and this is how you build a lasting business.
And I would say the other thing I would tell other shop owners is, for me personally, I'm emotionally attached to my wife and my daughter and not much else. That's what makes coaching so good, is because you have somebody that's not emotionally attached to all your bullshit, and they can look at the numbers, they can look at the processes and procedures and give you facts to fix those things based off of that. I would tell you, when you're buying a business, be a hard ass. Like, don't be like, oh, I've always wanted this business, so I'm going to run in and throw piles of cash at people and buy this business. Be willing to walk away from it, and walk away from it 2 or 3 or 4 times. Like, if that's what it takes, like, buy things on your terms and make it out. Because if they'd have come back another time and said no, then I'd have been fine with it. I'd have been like, I do not have to have this. So don't feel like you have to have a shop or put yourself in a bind because of it. Like
going in to buy a car, right? Do not admit you love the car, no matter how much you love the car. It's the same way with a business. But it's funny. You see people going in and beating a dealer up for $2,000 that the dealer doesn't have in a used car, and then are willing to overpay 10, 100 times that on a business. But it's all relative, right?
Right, for sure.
Well, awesome, Chris. I just want to say thanks again for coming on. If people want to hear more war stories about the new shop, or if they want to get in touch with you about some coaching so that you can help them, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So you can go listen to the podcast, The Weekly Blitz with Chris Cotton, anywhere podcasts are heard. To get in touch with me as a coach, you can go to autoshopcoaching.com, schedule a time to sit down and talk to me. I do all of the quote unquote free consultations, which they are free. I just don't like using the word free, but so if you schedule a consultation, then it comes directly to me and we'll get you scheduled in there. Also, we just started another podcast for service advisors specifically. It's called the Autofix Advisor Cast. You can go anywhere where podcasts are shared and sign up for that as well. We're just in our 3rd episode there.
Very cool. And I'll put the links to all of those in the show notes here. Who's on Advisor Cast? Is it just you?
So no, it's not me at all. It's a great service advisor coach that we have. His name's Michael Doherty. That's something that we're going to get into in 2025, is do some service advisor coaching and consulting. And we're in beta with our model right now. And so we'll have that lined out more after the first of the year. But he's going to head up kind of that department. And this is a way of getting him out there and people listening to him and kind of pushing that side of the business forward.
Super cool. Check them out. I will put all the links to that in the show notes. And yeah, appreciate you having you on, Chris.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So I hope you enjoyed that episode with Chris and learned something. I know that I did. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, shoot me an email. All of those links that we talked about with Chris for his coaching services, for his podcast, we will put those links in the show notes as well. But if you want links for the rest of the Aftermarket Radio Network, you can find that online at aftermarketradionetwork.com and on your favorite podcast listening apps. So thanks again for joining me on Business by the Numbers. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you all next week.
You've been listening to Business by the Numbers with Hunt Demarest on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Hunt on your favorite podcast listening app. Let him know what you'd like him to cover. His email is in the show notes. Hunt is all for advancing the aftermarket.